Hello, and welcome to Life Sciences New York's Spotlight Series, a regular series of conversations with thought leaders, innovators, and change agents in New York's life sciences ecosystem. I'm Win Thurlow, Executive Director of Life Sciences New York, and I'm particularly pleased and tickled to be joined today by Shelby Schneider, the President and CEO of Upstate Capital Association, an organization that many of you members of Life Sciences New York are familiar with. But for those of you who aren't, it's an organization focused on fostering, promoting, and driving deal flow across the upstate New York region. Shelby has been with Upstate Capital about a year now. Shelby, do I have that right?
9 months.
9 months.
9 months.
So
Yeah.
um, we've gone a pregnancy term with Shelby, and anyway, Shelby has a long history in the innovative space in New York State, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. So thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Win. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here today with you. And also, I really, really appreciate the collaboration and the partnership that you've shown since I walked in the door. So
Well, back at you. Thank you, Shelby.
thanks.
Let's start. For folks who don't know Shelby Schneider, tell us a little bit about your background, kind of what led you to where you are today.
Thank you, Win. So I am a New York native. I was born and raised in upstate New York, also educated here. And I started my career nearly 26 years ago in economic development. Um, One of my goals was that if I was going to stay in upstate New York, I really wanted to be part of whatever mechanism existed that was supporting economic revitalization, attracting jobs, opportunity, and making sure that whether it was myself, my peers, or the next generation truly had opportunity to live, work, and play in upstate New York. So I spent many, many years working on business retention, expansion, attraction. Access to capital was always an important part of that equation. And I recognized early on in my career that um, access to risk capital for both the startup community as well as middle market, later stage companies it was so important. Without capital, you know, companies really can't grow and survive. Um, so I'd say about last year, right around this time, I learned about the opportunity that Upstate Capital was seeking a new executive director. I had spent the previous 4 years as the deputy director of a statewide association, the New York State Economic Development Council, where I did a lot of work with business attraction, specifically in the life sciences, semiconductor industry, as well as industrial asset management. I felt like my statewide network, the work that I had done in a membership association, and um, I I felt like I could potentially add value to this association and help be a connector. Ultimately, Upstate Capital Association of New York is a membership association of both venture capital, early stage, as well as later stage capital providers, service providers that facilitate merger and acquisition transactions, businesses as well as their advisors, businesses that are either seeking an exit, growth, growth capital, or otherwise, as well as ecosystem partners, associations like yourself, and founders throughout New York State. So that in our association, the ultimate mission is to connect investors with deal flow.
So let's drill down a little bit, if you don't mind, into that topic. Certainly our members are acutely aware of the challenges involved in attracting early stage investment and capital in
Hmm.
parts of New York that, have not traditionally been leaders in the life sciences space, right? This
Hmm.
is not a problem that is unique to upstate New York, but it's a problem that I think you and I are both focused on addressing. What do you find as you're out talking with investors and folks in the capital space about their interest and willingness to look in previously unexplored spaces or take a risk on investments in places like Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Albany?
Um, I think it's a work in progress, really. Um, as you and I are aware, and many of our providers, our partners across New York State, New York is extremely, we generate exceptional innovation, whether it's life sciences or other sectors in the life sciences, from therapeutics to diagnostics to medical services, platform technologies. Um, we really need to do a better job at telling our story to the outside world because we do have the innovation here. And ultimately, capital providers are um, they're looking for deal flow, but they are looking for a consistent, large amount of deal flow. So being able to show that we are producing a critical mass of innovation and investable um, innovation is really important. So I think we have a lot of work to do, and I think we can do it collaboratively. Um, yeah.
So let me ask you this. Is in your from your perspective, is the challenge in attracting investment capital in upstate New York related to the um, is it a geographic problem? Do we have a challenge in having, innovators across a large geographic area and not concentrated, say, as they may be in Kendall Square in Boston, right? Or is the problem that we've somehow failed to identify opportunities in places where investors have not previously looked? Give me some sense of, from your perspective, what you're hearing from the investment community.
I I think it's all of the above. And, we do upstate New York, unlike other places in the country, we sit very close to these centralized hubs like New York City, Boston, um, that that community really has that affinity and brand awareness of the sector that is producing, again, a critical mass of talent. So um, it's talent deals. So as you and I are both aware, the way New York is a very, very large state. Upstate New York is a very, very large state. Upstate Capital was founded in 2003 by both early stage as well as later stage investors that had an investment thesis of investing in upstate New York, but being able to identify these concentration of companies, deals, hubs was a challenge given that, you know, Buffalo is such a far distance from New York City, Rochester, so we're spread out. So we have this unique challenge with this association of being able to be that central point of contact that, you come to Upstate Capital events, whether, you're in Eastern or Western New York, and you meet the players you meet and you understand where those deals are. So, we do have that challenge that we're so close to these large, large markets that we suffer a little bit from being a bit of a flyover. Um, that being said, New York has an incredible story to tell, and we are producing, uh, the next generation of technology, innovation. We've got a state that has been co-investing and putting where their money where their mouth is, really, and ensuring that there's this risk capital and that they're de-risking um, some of the startup stage for a lot of our companies and preparing for follow-up investments. So again, I think we need to continue to do a better job of telling our story of, the innovation assets that we have, especially in the life sciences, between Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, Hudson Valley, Capital Region. I mean, we have a lot to offer. And so, being able to share those stories, build awareness of the network, and, you know, build that critical mass of capital providers here in upstate New York.
Shelby, let's turn our focus a little bit to what I think may be some folks in our audience, and those are innovators who
Mhm,
are early stage in developing technology products. As
mhm,
you kind of survey the successful startups that you've seen that have been able to attract capital, are there
mhm.
some through lines? Are there things that you think innovators should keep top of mind, or what from your perspective distinguishes a good startup from a great startup, if you will?
Well, a good startup from a great startup. So, a good startup probably is one that is very skilled in their specific field. Um, they are coming up with a solution that they truly believe in. Um, a great startup is thinking about the entire picture and thinking about the market readiness and their go-to-market strategy and incorporating and building those relationships early and often so they can not only, you know, ensure that they will have a customer base, even though they're pre-revenue, pre-seed, they are planning their work and working their plan and developing their network early and testing the marketplace to ensure that the technology, the solution that they are developing, um, will have market adoption. And capital follows good ideas. Capital follows, what is needed in the marketplace. So, um, a good company could provide, come up with the most inventive technology ever. But if no one really knows about it and they don't, test their network early and often, it's probably going to be the best kept secret.
And for folks who may be watching who are interested in investing, I'm
Mhm,
curious to know if you've got any thoughts about how we can do a better job in upstate New York on developing the investor community, whether it's family offices, private equity. We are not a huge source of capital dollars, but there certainly
mhm.
are groups and organizations that have been quite active in focusing their work and their investment in the upstate community. Thoughts that you might have on how we can do a better job of developing a robust investor community across the state?
I think, going back to awareness. So I think, as you say, one of our key strategies for the future of Upstate Capital is attracting a diverse capital provider network. Even it might appear that we do not have a large amount of family offices or venture capital firms, both Series A and follow-on capital, Series B and beyond, strategic corporate investors. We do have a tremendous amount of affinity In upstate New York, we have many people that were born, raised, educated, have family that might have worked at one of our very large legacy companies, whether it's IBM, GE, Kodak, Xerox, Bausch and Lomb, et cetera. Um, they exist, and I think being able to tell the story of what is going on here, the investment opportunities, the really impactful, transformative technologies that in the therapeutics, other things that we are developing here, um, and inviting folks to come in and listen to our story, take their advice about how innovation ecosystems are attracting capital and the follow-up capital. So again, like I've spent the past 26 years in economic development trying to tell the story of the incredible things that we've got going on here in upstate New York, whether it's semiconductor industry or, attracting other sectors like that. And I'd like to apply some of what I've learned promoting New York State to, promoting New York State to the investment community.
Well, listen, let me give a bit of a shout out to
Mhm.
Upstate Capital Association and encourage our members to follow Upstate Capital. You can certainly find information about them from on their website. Also, often on our website, we try to make sure that we're sending that information out. And as Shelby, as you've been talking about developing relationships, I'm really mindful of the importance of the network of connecting with folks. And so, as from one connector to another, I want to encourage folks to try to connect with you and the work that you're doing at Upstate Capital. You're driving deal flow across upstate New York. That is transformative for the work that we're doing here at Life Sciences New York. So on behalf of our members, I want to thank you for that work. I want to encourage folks to reach out both to you and to the organization for some continuing education. How's that on developing and building a more robust ecosystem?
Thank you, Wynn. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Hey, listen, it's always a pleasure, Shelby, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure. Take care.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you.